Well, 2023 is upon us, and it's a very hard act to follow when it comes to games because 2022 was a very, very good year. So we had Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Tunic, Vampire Survivors, just to name a few great games. Well, today I want to look ahead to the future at my top 10 most anticipated games of 2023. Well, first up, we've got Destiny 2 Lightfall. This is the penultimate expansion in the Light vs. Darkness saga. We're off to Neptune and the neon city of Neomuna to fight against Callus and the Shadow Cabal. The Witness draws ever nearer Earth, plus the name Lightfall doesn't bode well for the Traveller, currently situated just outside the last city. You've also got a new Darkness subclass coming with Strand, our second Darkness subclass since Stasis was introduced in Beyond Light in 2020. As well as moving the story forward, Bungie is introducing new tools and features like in-game LFG, Guardian ranks, commendations, and also a mod management system. And Bungie's next major expansion is set for release on the 28th of February, 2023. Well, next up we've got Starfield. So Starfield is the first new universe in 25 years from Bethesda. This is a next generation RPG set amongst the stars where you can create any character that you want and explore with freedom as you embark on an epic journey to answer humanity's greatest mystery. Starfield is set in an area that extends outward from the solar system approximately 50 light years, called the Settled Systems. So around the year 2310, the two largest factions in the game, the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective, they engage in a conflict called the Colony War. The game takes place 20 years after the war, with the major factions enjoying an uneasy peace. The player assumes the role of a customizable character who's a member of Constellation, an organisation of space explorers. And the game can be played in either third-person or first-person perspectives, and Starfield is set to release in 2023. Well, next up, we've got Diablo 4. So this one is an upcoming action RPG. So Diablo is famous for replayability, procedurally generated dungeons, loot-focused character building. That is all going to return, while new features such as an open world and also PvP interactions, they're going to be introduced. 5 playable classes have been announced, so Barbarian, Sorceress, Druid, Rogue, and Necromancer, all of which appeared in the series before. Players guide their characters through quests and combat in the world of Sanctuary, as the once banished Lilith returns to wreak havoc. The game was announced on November the 1st, 2019, all those years ago at BlizzCon, and is scheduled for release on the 6th of June, 2023. Well, next up we've got Sea of Stars. This one is an RPG centered around 2 heroes named Valerie and Zale. They use the power of the sun and the moon to fight against an alchemist. Gameplay includes elements of puzzle solving and turn-based combat, with players able to control up to 6 playable characters. The game is inspired by RPGs such as Illusion of Gaia, Breath of Fire, and Chrono Trigger. So it's got sailing mechanics, side quests, and the combat is focused around finding the elemental weakness of enemies. And Sea of Stars is located in the same setting as The Messenger, but is also set thousands of years before the events of that latter game. Sea of Stars was originally announced in 2020, first launched as a project on Kickstarter. Sabotage intended to develop the RPG that was more ambitious than The Messenger. The Messenger is absolutely fantastic, by the way. Well, next up we got Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So the story of Cal Kestis continues in Survivor as a third-person galaxy-spanning action-adventure game from Respawn Entertainment, developed in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games. This is a narratively driven single-player title, and it picks up 5 years after the events of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and follows Cal's increasingly desperate fight as the galaxy descends further into darkness. So Cal is no longer a Padawan, he's come into his own, and he's grown into a powerful Jedi Knight. The dark times are closing in though, with enemies new and familiar surrounding him. Cal will need to decide how far he's willing to go to save those closest to him. Also, the cinematic combat system returns with additional Force abilities, including a new lightsaber fighting styles. So you can use all these abilities and the weapons to strategically take on the expanded host of enemies, sizing up the strengths and the weaknesses while cleverly utilising your training to overcome opponents and solve the mysteries that lay in your path. So it sounds really, really exciting, can't wait for this one. So you can stand against the darkness on March the 17th, 2023. Well, next up we've got one that really stood out to me during a recent Nintendo Direct, and it's Pepper Grinder. It's an action-packed pirate adventure starring Pepper, a seafaring soul with a passion for prospecting, and Grinder, her super-powered drilling device. Shipwrecked and robbed of her treasure, Pepper must spin up her trusty sidearm to reclaim what the mischievous gnarling stole. So armed with Grinder, Pepper burrows through terrain and water, controls machines and pulverizes all enemies blocking the way towards recovering her missing fortune. Pepper's progress is not going to be that simple though, however, as a mysterious being begins to emerge from the shadows. So we've got gritty gameplay, thrilling drilling, and you can also conquer and collect, so you can pick up jewels as well as other riches during your adventure, cash them in at the shops to power up Pepper, and open up new paths on the world map, and snag collectible stickers for your sticker book. This one looks really, really good. Can't wait for Pepper Grinder. Definitely check that out. Next up, we got Final Fantasy XVI. This one is an upcoming action RPG. It's developed and published by Square Enix. This is the 16th main installment in the Final Fantasy series and scheduled for release in 2023 for the PlayStation 5 as a timed exclusive. The game is going to feature segmented open environments and an action-based combat system involving both melee and magic-based attacks. There's also recurring series features including chocobos and summon monsters called icons, who are both fought as bosses and used to challenge their power in combat. Final Fantasy XVI is set on Valisthea, a world divided between 6 nations who hold power through access to magical crystals and dominance, humans who act as hosts for each nation's icon. Tensions between the nation escalates as a blight begins consuming the land. Clive Rosfield, guardian to his younger brother Joshua, witnesses his kingdom destroyed and goes on a revenge quest in pursuit of the dark icon Ifrit. Well, next up we got Wild Hearts. This one is an upcoming action RPG developed by Omega Force, and it's published by EA under the EA Originals label. So the game tasks the player to hunt massive monsters in the Azuma, a fantasy world inspired by feudal Japan. So basically, think Monster Hunter, and that is what Wild Hearts is similar to. Players assume the role of the nameless hunter who must embark on quests to hunt down massive monsters known as kimono in the world of Azuma. So Azuma is not open world, but instead several large areas that players can freely explore. And the game features 8 different weapon types, including the lights of the Wagasa and the Katana. In addition to using weapons to defeat enemies, players can also build items to assist combat through the Karakuri mechanic. For instance, players can build crates that allow players to leap off and deal massive damage to enemies, or a torch that can be used to ignite enemies. So think of it like the building in Fortnite crossed with the gameplay of Monster Hunter, and that is what Wild Hearts looks similar to. So I'm really, really excited for this one, and the game is set to release on the 17th of February 2023. It's going to release for PlayStation 5, PC, and also Xbox Series S and X. Well, next up we've got Street Fighter 6. This is one of my most anticipated games. Absolutely love this game. Street Fighter 6, upcoming fighting game developed and published by Capcom. It's going to feature 3 overarching game modes, so Fighting Ground, World Tour, and Battle Hub. So we got to play the Battle Hub in the recent beta. Fighting Ground contains local and online versus play, as well as training and arcade modes, all featuring similar 2D fighting gameplay to the previous games in the series. So you've got 2 fighters using a variety of attacks and special abilities to knock out their opponent. World Tour is a single-player story mode featuring a customizable player avatar exploring a 3D environment with an action-adventure gameplay. And you've got the Battle Hub acts as an online lobby mode with other features set to be revealed in the future. Well, the main fighting gameplay of Street Fighter 6 is based around the Drive Gauge, a system designed to encourage player creativity. So the gauge can be used for 5 different techniques, requiring players to choose which ones to prioritise. Most of the Drive Gauge mechanics are based on the previously existing mechanics from the previous Street Fighter mainline games, such as parry, focus attack, EX move, etc., etc., and many, many more. And the game features 2 control types, the classic control scheme. It's got a 6-button layout that functions similar to previous entries of Street Fighter, while the modern control scheme assigns special moves to a single button combination with a directional input. So think of it more like the Smash Brothers control scheme, and that is what the new modern control scheme in Street Fighter is going to be like. Well, really, really excited for this one, and it is going to release on the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5, PC, and also Xbox Series S and X on June the 2nd. That is in 2023. Well, finally, we've got my most anticipated game of 2023, and of course, it is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So, development started on this one in 2017 after The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was completed. The game was announced at E3 2019 as the sequel to Breath of the Wild. Then at E3 2021, Nintendo debuted a trailer revealing gameplay, story elements, and a 2022 release date, but unfortunately Nintendo changed the release date to Q2 in 2023. Nintendo revealed more information in their Nintendo Direct in September 2022, including the title Tears of the Kingdom, and of course the release date of the 12th of May 2023. So we got the Breath of the Wild director Hidemaru Fubayashi and the Zelda producer Eiji Aonuma. They are both coming back for the game. And the game was conceived after the team was unable to use every idea planned for Breath of the Wild. They were going to include it in downloadable content, but instead they decided just to make a brand new game. It's been 6 years in development, so I've got really high hopes for this game. New elements include floating islands above Hyrule, and players are going to be able to soar between them in a similar style to The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword. Well, that is it for my most anticipated games of 2023. Thank you so much for watching or listening. For more Destiny 2 content like this, hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to This Week in Video Games. Or you can check me out on Twitter at TWIVG Podcast. If you enjoyed this video, found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out the other videos on the channel. Well, thanks again. I'll see you soon.